I don't know if you can hear it, but there's like flamenco guitar playing in the background. The man's been playing it all day. All day. Well, welcome. It is me, Maris, and just doing some late evening chat. Yeah, hope everybody has had a semi restful weekend. You know, they told us that we were going to have snow, and I half believe it. And when I woke up this morning, it was raining, and then I started doing some other things. And then, boom, this snow started. But one of the interesting things that I did this weekend was a facial scrub. Well, actually, it's a body scrub. It's by the coffee, thecoffeescrub.com, but it's called the Coffee Scrub. I know you're reading it backwards. Well, that's because I have the, hey, Christy, I have it pointing towards me, not you. So, anyway, it's called the Coffee Scrub, and it is a body scrub. I got it in my Ipsy bag. I love Ipsy. Hi, Kenna. I love Ipsy because it allows me to be really girly. You know, you get 5 little makeup-y things and then a cool little makeup bag. Every month, I get it every month, so it's like one of my favorite things. And I got this a couple of months ago, and you know, and I kind of just kept putting it to the side, putting it to the side, putting it to the side. I love using masks. I use face mask, feet mask, body mask. My stomach hurts. I got a bentonite clay mask on my belly. You know, so I use a lot of masks and a lot of different scrubs. I like scrubs too. And so anyway, I decided to go ahead and use this one. So I opened it up. Kenna, you need to try some of this coffee scrub, but wait till yeah. I was like, just wait, because it's some really cool stuff. Okay, first and foremost, it looks just like coffee. And so I'm like, here, let's see if you can kind of sort of see it. I just spilled it. Okay, kind of, you know, looks, okay, I spilled it again. Okay, as long as nobody wants to drink that, right? So it is actually like coffee grounds. It's like a fine grind of the coffee. It's got organic coffee, coffee bean ground, grapeseed oil, mentha aquatica, olive oil, almond oil, glycerin, water, macadamia nut oil, vitamin E, cinnamon cassia essential oil, really, and rose petal extract. And I'll tell you, to be honest, it smells. No, I think it was like in October's bag. I don't think it was November. I think it was like October. But I don't smell any of the other stuff, like the rose petal extract or the cinnamon cassia essential oil. Let me just tell you, cinnamon cassia oil is some pretty like painful oil. Okay, and I'll get to that one in just a minute. But anyway, so the coffee scrub. I think this is like a 50-gram bag. And so normally when they sell it, it's like a 20 or 100 grams, no, 200 grams, for about 19 bucks. So $20. So this was in my little Ipsy bag, and it was interesting. I think I would probably maybe put a little coconut oil with it just to make it work on the skin a little better. Would I do it again? Oh, hell yeah, I'll do it again. And I'll be honest, I went online, I went over there to Amazon, and I started looking at prices on Amazon for different coffee scrubs, and they're like 14 to, we'll say 14 to 30 bucks. For, you know, somewhere along that line. And I'm like, there is a can of your store brand coffee. And you know what? It kind of is the same thing. Let's just keep it real. Um, if you're I was sitting there in a little bit of a panic. I was like, if he sees this stuff out on the counter, or if I don't like rinse it out of the bathtub really well, he's going to get pissed that I went in and his expensive coffee beans and ground them up and used them as a scrub. Katox. Oh, I have a light. Christy, my friend, Matthew, gave me a really cool light thing for Christmas. He knows I love doing videos. You know Matthew, my rock star friend. He knows I love doing videos. And I'm always like whining about the lights because it's like the big lights on top at work are just like too bright and blah, blah, blah. And so he got this for me. It is badass, girl. It's got a little thing, but my phone's too fat. My phone's too fat for that. So I can't use that part. I'm going to have to adapt and overcome. Well, I tried to invite him online. And it wouldn't let me do it. It kept saying connection failed. So I was like, it's either, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't want us like loving people and sending healing out, or I don't know, maybe I made the Facebook gods mad this week. I don't know, who knows. But hopefully we'll be able to do that in the future if we ever have to do virtual, where everybody's virtual on it. But going back to the coffee scrub, really cool thing. It's really, which I thought was kind of funny, is that coffee is really good for on the outside, like for the scrubs. It's really good for getting rid of, helping to reduce cellulite and helping scars to fade away. It hydrates, and I'm like, hydrates, and nourishes the skin. Plus it exfoliates all the old dry junk off, which I started laughing about the being, like it nourishes, and hydrates the skin. I'm like, damn, a cup of coffee will like hydrate you in a heartbeat. But I can rub it all over my body and look what happens. Go figure. But the coffee scrub, like I said, in the future, I probably would just mix my own. For myself, I would probably, just go get the store brand coffee, because we're using it just as the exfoliant. I mean, there's the caffeine that's in it that's absorbed through the skin. That's why I'm saying I would use coconut oil, just to help it on the skin a little bit. I'm actually kind of excited. I'm going to be risque for a moment, just for a moment. And I'm actually going to mix this with a bentonite clay and some cocoa. Yeah, so coffee, cocoa, and bentonite clay, and mix it all together and put it on my face, because I don't think I have cellulite so much on the face, but I got like all these crazy tanning marks, and I'm going to use that to see if I can get that off. So I think that's pretty cool. But one oil that I will not be using is the cinnamon cassia essential oil. That son of a gun essential oil is hot as Hades on your skin. Voice of experience. Okay, so I've done this one for you, so please do not be a Maris and go do it on yourself. Okay, so one day I'm at work, and my stomach is just killing me. I've got a really, really bad stomach ache. I have some diverticular problems, and yes, I know all about the spiritual vibration of it, and yeah, so I'm working on alleviating those issues so that I don't experience that. But regardless, anyway, going back to the cinnamon cassia oil. So we're getting ready to do something, and I don't even remember what we're getting ready to do. And so I'll probably make a video. And so I have some cinnamon cassia oil, and I lay down on one of the massage tables, and I drop some cinnamon cassia oil in my umbilicus, or your belly button, your navel. And because, on the other side, there's this, dried out old blood vessels that go to various parts of your body. Think about when you were in utero, you're in your mom's womb, and you've got the umbilical cord that goes from your umbilicus, or your belly button, up to the placenta. And so that's how you're getting your nourishment and blah, blah, blah going on. Well, when you're older, all of those vessels are all dried out, but they go to those particular areas, all over your body, major organs. So, sister here, yeah, me, I go and I drop some cassia oil, because cassia oil is really good for stomach aches. My ass. Okay, it is really good for gastric issues, but so I drop it in my belly button, and I love putting them in my belly button. They're great, but not cinnamon, not cassia oil, and I can smell the cinnamony smell of it, and I'm like, and the next thing I know, my umbilicus, my belly button, is blankety blank on fire, and I'm having to keep it really like in my face, and all I can think of is, oh my goddess, my belly button is on fire. And I'm like, yeah, you want to talk about grabbing some lavender oil and sticking some lavender oil. Lavender oil is really good, like when you're having an irritation to an oil, or another oil is too hot. You can use lavender oil in that, on top of that, and it'll kind of help to dispel that. So yeah, that was just a nightmare. So I was like, yeah. So I will use a lot of oil and just a drop of cassia oil, and rub it on the belly. A lot of times, if you have an abdominal issue going on, you can take castor oil, not the kind you put in your mouth. No, 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 we're not doing that. But castor oil, the topical, the one that goes on your skin. And you'll do a little bit of castor oil, a little bit of coconut oil, because castor oil is kind of thick and sticky. And then add a drop. And if you could get half a drop in, I would do half a drop of cassia oil. Rub it together and get it while it's warm. And then rub it clockwise on your belly. And it's a wonderful essential oil that you can use to alleviate any gas or belly issue that's going on. I'm not doing the MD thing here, but it's just, it's kind of one of those things. Essential oils are really cool to work with. I've been working with them for a while, and you can kind of do some interesting things and create some better health in frame of mind using a little bit of essential oil. All right, so we've been pouring these casts, and I'll show you what the cast looks like. I had bought these molds a long time ago, and I was telling Katox, I said, dude, let's do them in concrete. And he's kind of looking at me like I'm crazy, but he goes with my flow, and we do the concrete, and we'll just say they fell apart. And he's like, yo, they're not strong enough. You need to be doing that with plastic, because the molds, the horn part is really thin. So he says, no, we need to do it with plaster of Paris. So we go and get the plaster of Paris, and I like to do paint pours. And so I started pouring on this one. Let me just say it's a little interesting. Yeah, I made another one, but and that one's kind of like blues and purples, but it's still wet. So these are my cool little door stops. And then he poured some more tonight, and we kind of figured out how to make it So I've got a couple of them that I'm going to do where you can hang them up on the wall. Aren't they cool? This one's a little. This one was, and I'll tell you, I took all of my hair. Come back a little bit with it. I took all of my oil, or not my oils. I'm like going from essential oil to paints, right? I take all of my paints that were like left over at the end of the day, as I did probably like some 6 paintings. And so I take all the oils that I have at the end of the day and I like put them in a cup. And then I just like take the cup and I was going to say drool it on there, but you kind of like just pour it on there. You know, you kind of try to do cutesy little designs and whatever through there. And then you literally, you take it and you're like doing this and you're like swishing the paint all around and it makes some cool designs. And then I take a straw and you blow through the straw and it'll like spread the paint and create cells. And let me just tell you, I spent over a year in my dark night of the soul journey thing, and I'm like, oh, let me just tell you, that was some crazy stuff. And did some meditation, did some other little practices, took a couple classes, learning how to do this, learning how to do that. And I could not get over that last hump. It was like just as you think that you're finally getting to the light of day through that dark night of the soul, you realize that, yeah, I'm not, because something comes up or something, you remember something or you see something, you experience something, and then you're back in that little funk again and you're doing your shadow work and all that BS, I'm going to call it BS, all right? And it was like I was missing something. I was totally missing something. And so one day I came home and just popped on. My husband watches tons of YouTube. He's really into like the mafia and crime stuff, and so he listens to a lot of that. And I was like, I was dreaming about the Gemini Club, so I had to like stop listening to that. So I get on YouTube and I start looking up like paint pours and ways to be creative. And I'm like, I can't paint. Now, I went to that little, not the Tipsy Artist, but one of those paint party things. And I think we brought in our liquor. But anyway, I went to one of those and, and you're like trying to follow what they're doing. And I'm like, I can't do that shit. I can barely draw a straight line. How in the world do you expect me to create trees and flowers and birds and blah, 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 I'm like, hell no. So I had, just like, I don't want to paint. But I started watching the paint pours and I'm like, I can frickin' do that. But the funny part is that I used to make fun, yes, I did, of like abstract art. And I'm like, yeah, it looks always just like somebody just threw the paint up there, blah, blah, blah. And they'll go, oh, but it says so much. It's so creative. And it just has 1,000,001 messages. And I would make fun of that. And so anyway, so I started paint pouring. And let me tell you, the day that I start paint pouring in the morning, I am like in a bullshit mood. Horrible mood. I am like raging pissed. And I believe that those paintings I threw away. Let's see. Yeah, I did throw them away. Yeah, they were kind of obnoxious. And then, and then I had like a little breakthrough. And, started liking pink and green. And this is like my little picture. This is my painting for healing the heart. And it was like you get into this really crappy zone, and you can either keep on with that crappy zone and you end up with anxiety, you end up with anger, you end up with liver issues, you end up with kidney issues, lung issues, you end up with all these freaking health issues. And then you're pissed off all the time, and then you're like, I hate, and I'm sorry, but there's not any magic pill that will fix that. You have to, as a human being, we have to learn how to work out that energy, that negative vibration. And it's like, what do? We go and get a Reiki session, and we think a Reiki session is going to heal it. We go and get a massage, or we go do this, or we go and meditate one day, and it's like, I still have all of that. Yeah, you still have all of that issue because you really haven't worked through that issue. So what I'm getting to is, I was still having a lot of anger and feeling that anger, and I was like, all the meditation wasn't taking it away. I would still have it there. And anyway, so I knew that things were getting better when I started painting something that was a little bit more brighter, and then I just kind of like went to town. And so Annie asked me, do you have pictures for the show next week? Yes, honey, I do. And I'm coming to your house, Annie Vanek, and probably Tuesday when, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, this is like some of my favorite ones. And then, so you can see going through my little shish there that, things got better. Here's one of my really dark ones. And I was just like, the anger's getting better. I can be angry with a smile, But it was phenomenal. Oh, this one's kind of cool. Yeah. So, anyway, so that's what, I've been kind of focusing on is ways to figure out, ways to get rid of that anger, ways to get rid of frustration. Is, our whole lives have changed. 2020 was life-changing. That's one thing I can say. And I believe, I'm pretty sure, I'd have to go back and look at some old videos, like of the breakfast show. But I bet you I sat in there and said, 2020 is going to be my year of change, that I'm going to accomplish all of these things, and I'm going to really find out what my life purpose is. I will, yeah, I'm like, whoa, 2020 was totally life-changing. We really got to figure out, in a sense, who we are, what we believe in, what we're going to do, how far we'll go to get what we need. You got, from toilet paper rationing to mandates to wear your mask at home. Come on. It's been a crazy year. It's been a very, very crazy, crazy year. Hey, Gabby, let me see if it'll let you come on. Let's see. Bring Gabby on camera. Oh, man. I don't know why it won't let me. I'll have to figure out why. Because I was trying to get Gabby to come in on... Because Gabby and I have like really good text message conversations. And I'm like, man, we need to do a podcast about this. Or this would be great if we were having this on video or, or live where people can, hear or see our conversation. And some of the really interesting things that we talk about. Gabby, can I talk about the one thing that we were talking about with COVID? Or do we want to save that for later? It's like kind of letting you know that I have a poll. There is a poll that's on Twitter. I just haven't put it up on Facebook yet. And the poll is that if you are a Reiki practitioner or a vibrational healer, so if you're Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki 3, whatever, if you do therapeutic touch, quantum teaching, something along that lines, or quantum, not quantum teaching, quantum healing, something along that lines. If you do some kind of vibrational healing, what are your experiences with COVID? We are polling. We want to know how many people that are in vibrational healing have experienced COVID-19 personally themselves. How many have not? How many have, what was the other one? Antibodies? Was that what it was, Gabby? Was it? It was like who's had COVID-19, who's had it, who's not had it, and who has antibodies. So those three, because sometimes people don't manifest the disorder or the disease, especially like on a viral infection. If you have a really strong immune system, and you've been um, exposed to that cootie enough times, that a lot of times you'll build up immunity and you're already creating those antibodies. I imagine that's kind of what happened with the nuns and priests that were working in areas that had leprosy, was that they had developed, that many developed an immunity to it because they had been exposed to it so often through there. But, because what Gabby and I were looking at is that, as a vibrational healer, and, she's a vibrational healer too, that, she's been exposed to COVID many times, many times. She had worked in retail. She works in she's doing her fellowship or her internship at a hospital. And so, you think about, what we do as, going to the store. You're somebody there is coughed, in the building or whatever. She and I are probably not the most dedicated mask wearers. I do wear a mask in the store. Like if I go into a store, I've been known not to wear a mask in 7-Eleven because it's like an in and out thing. But I go to Walmart, I have to go, to Home Depot, or even if I go to the local small businesses, I just wear a mask. I don't wear a mask in my office once, and I'm kind of not very dedicated. I'm not very compliant with wearing a mask, like going from my car to the building and all of that. Okay, so I'll say I'm one of those wishy-washy mask wearers. And Gabby, I think, is probably, I know that she's compliant at work, and I know that she's compliant where they ask for a mask. But I mean, like, we're driving around, we go through the drive-through, I don't wear a mask, to that effect, I don't. Okay. So, but what we're looking at is the vibrational aspect of COVID-19, or the spiritual, I guess the spiritual vibrational aspect of it. So that if you, our hypothesis is along the lines, I guess, loosely, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gabby, is that vibrational healers have that are actively practicing, have a kind of like a prophylactic, or perhaps an enhanced immunity to the COVID-19. I mean, just a thought process, because I looked at, in the earlier aspect of it, until probably about July, I was following the cannabis smokers and how many people that smoke cannabis that were exposed to COVID-19 actually got COVID-19, which it was like a really low number up until July, and then I just stopped counting. I stopped looking, stopped counting, looking, whatever. So if you think about, okay, so what is it about cannabis or people that use cannabis that they were less likely to become COVID-19 positive. So there's a lot of different things out there when you think about it, and some interesting perspective to dis-ease as it is. I'm a firm believer that if you are not in alignment, body, mind, and spirit, and you can be a fluffy girl or a fluffy dude, and if you have your emotions in check and your spirituality in check, your health may not be 100%, but you're going to be a lot healthier than if you didn't have your emotions and your mental emotion part or your spiritual part of your body all in alignment. You're going to be in a jacked up state. And it's kind of like, okay, well, we can have a diabetic, and let's just go with diabetes, because we think about diabetics. Their disorder is from the pancreas, and the pancreas has a lot to do with our perspective of life. And so if your pancreas is out of whack, or if your perspective of life is out of whack, after a while, it's going to affect your pancreas, and then your pancreas is out of whack. So you have your pancreas out of whack, and then you start to develop we'll say type 2 diabetes. And so type 2 diabetes is the non-insulin dependent. So you're taking metformin or whatever the new magic sugar pill is, right? And maybe you're doing finger sticks, maybe you're not. I don't know. Some people aren't very compliant with it. And you change your eating habits. You're compliant with your medication, but you still are unhappy with where you are in life, and you wonder why you still have diabetes. Okay. Could it be the mental and emotional part? Yes. We need to look to see if there's any articles on that. I guess that's what we can do tomorrow in our research time. You're always going to have diabetes, or that tendency for diabetes, until you start clearing the emotion and the mental connection in with that, or the spiritual connection in with that. Often, and it's like when I'm doing Reiki on someone, and I'm going over their pancreas, and what I will see or what I will feel is if they have an imbalance that has to do with that perspective of life, it'll be very black and white. And a really good example that I use often when I'm teaching or when I'm talking to somebody about, hey, let's work on your perspective here, is that I'll get a flash of something, then it's always in black and white. Or that dang movie, Schindler's List, will pop up, and it'll be the scene where he and the lady are up on a horse, or they're riding horses, and they look down over the city, and they see the little girl that's wearing the red coat, and she's the only piece of color. Her coat is the only color that's in the movie. The movie is completely in black and white. And so when I see that, or I experience that connection when I'm working with somebody, I may not say to them, oh, hey, you're a diabetic, or you're going to have diabetes, or hyperglycemia or hypoglycemia, whatever. I'll talk about their perspective and finding sweetness in life and looking for sweetness in life. Often, Pam Grout has that book E Squared, and one of the first exercises in that book is about asking potential force to show you something. And I'm like, what do you want to see? What brings joy to you to see? What do you like? Sometimes it's butterflies, sometimes it's dragonflies, sometimes it's roses, sometimes it's, something along that lines. And I'll say, ask potential force, ask universe, ask Big G, ask whatever you want to call it, to show you these roses or purple VWs or whatever. And then you start to see that, because we become more aware of it. often when you're seeing life in black and white, it's because you're choosing to see life in black and white. The fixation that we have of what's negative as opposed to that little red coat of what's positive in our lives. So, imbalances are going to work themselves in many different ways, but I mean, that's kind of like one of the ways when we talk about dis-ease or disease, and that we can have it for a moment, and then if we don't work through it, it becomes something that becomes a chronic problem or a chronic health issue. Blood pressure is the same thing. Blood pressure is a gauge of your how pissed off you are. It really is. And people will say, well, I have high blood pressure and I'm the most mellow person that I know. And I'm like, externally we're mellow, but on the inside we're a volcano and we're about to blow. And that is why our blood pressure is sitting at 180 over, 110. Let's get it real. You cannot diffuse that anger and shove it down, or that depression or that anxiety. You cannot just shove it down and keep it, hidden down, or it's going to pop up and it's going to manifest in some really horrible disorder or disease. I look at autoimmune disorders are often, a lot of that we swallow our feelings, we swallow our ideas, we swallow things, and then we end up with belly issues. And I kind of learned through my dark night of the soul, which, I'm real hesitant about finishing out my podcast on it. It's still like really deeply personal and almost, raw, and I feel really vulnerable even talking and thinking about it. It kind of like freaks me out. I'm like, shit, I gotta stop that. Actually, my dreams have been pretty good. Thank you for getting me off of that subject. I've been actually having really good dreams. I had back in May and June and July, I was having some crazy, crazy, crazy dreams. But actually, mine are. I'm getting good dreams, good vision, good thoughts, good feelings. Good, 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 good. How's your dreams been? Anybody having weird dreams? Saturn and Jupiter. I know Maris has had some. Gabby, you've had like these kind of dreams. Like, yeah, you've had some bizarre dreams through there. Um, you know, um, we often, I'll tell you this, if you're having dreams, even if they seem benign, and you wake up and you remember your dreams, I know everybody needs to smudge. You need to keep a dream journal. It's like Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Family Dollar. Everybody has little journals. I think I picked up these really cool ones for like $4 that were like hardcover over at Office Depot one day. But anyway, going back to the dream journal, if you're having dreams and you can remember them when you wake up, you need to start journaling your dreams. And I'm going to tell you why. I used to, not do that. I used to laugh about my dream. Not really laugh, because some of them were horrific. And I wasn't journaling them. And then 6 months would come by and boom, or a year would go by and boom, something would happen and it would be the same thing that I was having, that I had dreamt about. So I started keeping a dream journal, and I'll kind of keep a really kind of um, I mean, it's not a real formal one. I mean, I probably have like 5 different books that I write stuff in, and but keep records of your dreams, because it may be metaphoric. It may may be a metaphor, yeah, may be metaphoric. It may be a little bit on the magical realm, and I'm like doing this and I'm not making fun of the magical realm, but it may be like we were over there and it's out there in left field, and I'm like, hey, sometimes that's going to night school. Does everybody know what night school is? Night school, I mean, not like in the spiritual or the metaphysical realm of night school. Okay, so you know you have your higher self. And so a lot of times people will, something will happen, or, they're talking and they'll say something, or they'll give a piece of information out and they'll go, well, how did you know that? And they'll go, I don't know, I just know it. Okay. Well, if you feel like you're astral traveling or something different, you're probably in night school. Okay. And when you get your Reiki attunements, we'll just keep it real. When you get your first attunement, you open up part of that energetic connection. And so you start going to what's called night school. Some of us are pretty aware of going to night school, and some of us aren't very aware of going to night school. And you're like, I have no idea where I was. I felt like I traveled all over the place. And then some of us go, oh, I like going to night school. I think I'm going to go to night school tonight. So you lay down in the bed and you go, I'd like to go to night school and get my downloads. And it's really kind of weird because sometimes I'm end up in a classroom, and then other times you feel like you're astral traveling. You end up some other place, and in these kind of dreams, I'm telling you, it's really weird. You can smell things, you can taste things, you can touch something and feel it and appreciate the way that it feels. So it's like, in a dream, there was like, I love fabric and I love the way fabric feels. So I'm very tactile. It's like I'm always wanting to touch something. Is it soft or is it rough or whatever? And so I'm over there in my dream, and it's like I can smell the coffee. I can, taste the chocolate. I reach over and I touch, like like the fur on a dog or whatever, and it's all soft. And then you smell something, and then you hear something, and whatever. Man, you're probably in night school during that time. And you're learning something, you're experiencing something. And then other times, night school might be just like a classroom. And I was like one of the ones that I can still remember. We're literally in a classroom, and a very famous, I guess, or not famous, but yeah, a well-known imam, imam, was in my dream, and he was the teacher in this class, and it was Imam Tawahidi, and the Imam of Peace, and he's talking about fourth dimensional elements, and how, and essentially it's like how to resolve or heal or whatever, battle fourth and fifth dimensional elements. And he looks at me in the dream and he points at me and he goes, and you have to stay away from fourth dimensionals. And so I'm like, oh man, I can't play with Slender Man, which is okay because I really, don't want to play with Slender Man at all. Fourth dimensionals, so he's like talking about, you can't. And so it's like when people conjure up their own entities, or they create an entity that's out of their own manifestation. It's like something, it's more of their vibration, a low vibration, as opposed to it being a true entity. And that was what he was teaching. It was like, stop looking at it as a true entity and look at it as nothing but an infestation or a negative vibration, and flip or switch that vibration. So I thought that that was pretty interesting. In your dreams, guys, make sure you're journaling that and keep that information. And when something happens and you're like, oh Lord, I dreamed about that. Then you go back and you have validation. And what you're going to start seeing is that pattern of your own awakening and where you're going with that awakening and how it's like working, that how source or spirit works through you in order to to heal or accomplish a goal, or what's to illuminate something that's going on. And I was like, I had a weird dream, and it was a metaphoric dream, but it was really kind of interesting. As I dreamt about a helicopter, and the helicopter had this guy that looked like the Joker from the old Batman. Back when, I think it was Caesar Romero, I think, used to play the Joker. And was it the Joker? Yeah, the Joker. And so the Joker was flying this helicopter over Broadway Extension, like Broadway Extension and 63rd Street. It's just like a nightmare. It's like the loop of death on the exits coming from I-44 onto Broadway Extension. I'm like, really? Who the hell created that one, right? All right, so anyway, I had this dream that the Joker has a helicopter with several people in there, and he's driving this or flying this helicopter, and boom, it like, I knew it was going to crash, and I don't see it crash because I'm like, I won't look to the sides. I will only look forward, and I can see off to the side of my peripheral that this helicopter crashed. And so I end up talking to somebody, later that morning. I'm like, I had the craziest dream. And she was like, really? Really? Wow. So she ends up sharing with me a story about a helicopter pilot, and some shish that the helicopter pilot had got into. And I'm like, yeah. And literally, the situation crashed and burned. And I was like, well, heck, I didn't know it was him, but yeah, the Joker was in there. So I tell her the story. And so we kind of laughed a little bit. And she said, yeah, that would kind of fit. So maybe I need to smudge on that one. So pay attention to your dreams. They're really important, because, energy talks to us, vibration talks to us. A lot of times, Sigmund Freud says that we already know the answers. Carl Jung says we already know the answers, that we're already gifted, that we're intuitives, that we can sense and we can feel all that vibration around us, and that we can interpret those and see what's going on. You don't have to be a graduate of Miss Marple or Miss Maple's psychic school or whatever, that we're all psychics, we're all intuitives. It's just a matter of, you see a picture, it's like a card, like the cards, these, you see a picture, and what does that picture say to you when you see that moment that you have that picture? You're right, we do all have the answers. We don't like to, you know what though, Christy, people don't like to be quiet, and they don't like to listen. Because most of the time they don't like what they hear. It's something that they don't want to do, or they don't want to experience, they don't want to go through it. It's, why do people stay? Yeah, people don't like truth. Why do people stay in unhappy relationships or stay in jobs they hate? And that's because it is too uncomfortable to experience the unknown of what's on the other side. So we would rather stay in a hellhole of a relationship or a job, whatever, well, just 10 more years till I can retire. Really, in 10 years, can you imagine where your vibration is going to be in that job that you hate? I mean, I knew a couple of people that were working over at Tinker Air Force Base, and it was just like a countdown for them all the time of when they could retire because they hated their job so much. There's a lot of people at Tinker that don't like their job. So I'm like, you know what, Tinker, you need to hire me and let me come in and let's work on raising the vibration over there. Really? You know. Oh, I love Dolly Parton. But she rides the fence too much. She rides the fence. She wants to make everybody happy. And there's a problem when you try to make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. There are some people that just can't be happy. And they don't want to be happy. And she'll do her best to try to make them happy. And I'm like over here going, girl, you're working too hard. That person's always going to be bitter and angry until they figure out what it is that's truly making them bitter and angry and work on that. Because it's like all the little things, those are just little, that's minutia. That's, detail. That's detail, detail, detail. Jane Fonda, I like her as an actress. I will say that. I like her as an actress. But she's hypocritical. I love her in Frankie and Grace, man. I love that show. But yeah, I had to quit watching it. Yeah. I'm not a big Jane Fonda. Yeah. Yeah, her politics, she's like Looney Tunes. And I don't know. I tend to, that thing that happened out there in Vietnam, they call her what, Hanoi Jane or whatever. And I've read a lot of those articles, and, and they talk about how she kind of betrayed those guys, whatever, I don't know why celebrities get into politics. I really don't. I was like, and I'm going to say that, all right, well, not so much celebrity. Let's go with entertainers. I do not know why entertainers get into politics. A, um, your job is entertaining, and it's to divert the attention from the real world that's going on around. So people, it's kind of like when they go to the movies. That's why I'm like, I don't watch movies that stress me out anymore. I used to watch horror movies. I used to watch all those uh, shoot 'em up, kill 'em up, whatever movies. Um, oh, I know. I was like, art is much cooler. Maybe I'll send her a picture. You know how Jim Carrey does all those crazy, ugly, awful paintings that just of people that he doesn't like. And I'm like, man, you just put a lot of hate into that. And he did one on Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz like flipped it and talked about how much he loved the painting that Jim Carrey did of him, that he actually asked Jim Carrey for a signed copy of it. I started laughing. But, maybe if we did create that art and create something and then share that, because it's like I went through my journey, man. And I took all of my anger and all my rage and all my, and I'm going to use the word hate, and I took it and I released it on canvas, and then I released it on pieces of wood, and I released it on, I was just like pouring paint everywhere, and then I started pouring the paint when I purposefully poured the paint, and I would purposefully think about love or think about peace or what would life be if. and started putting my vibration into that. And man, I'm just telling you, I have not felt this peace and clarity that I have lately. I have not felt it in a long time. Um, I had I had an obstacle, and I'm going to use that word. I had an obstacle that I experienced last week, and it was something that was really eye-opening for me, and I realized some great truths within myself on that, and so so that's kind of my clarity over the weekend. But um, I was like, when you put your vibration into something negative, and I'm like, Jim Carey, quit doing the freaking paintings of people that you don't politically like in such a negative, nasty way. Maybe that's your way of releasing that, but you're more of an ass afterwards than you were beforehand. And it's like the more paintings you do where they are nasty, ugly paintings of people you don't like, the more negative your vibration becomes. And I'm like, ugh. He's like, so anyway, celebrities, entertainers need to stay the hell out of politics. Entertain, divert our attention, bring some laughter. You remember, was it the USO, United Service Organization, whatever, and they would have like the oh, what was her name? Nancy Sinatra. She went out there and sang, "These boots are made for walking. That's what they're gonna do," out there for the soldiers and things like that. That's what you're supposed to be doing, okay? You're supposed to be bringing some peace and joy and harmony and love and letting people know, oh, have a virtual movie night. Oh, I love that. Um, doing something like that, I think is so much cooler than talking about how much you hate this or you hate that. I went to go see Pearl Jam. I used to love Pearl Jam, and I went to go see Pearl Jam, and dude turned around and like stopped the concert and started talking about George Bush, George Jr. and 9/11 and all of that. And I'm like, that is such a drag. You know, we went to that concert to hear some good tunes, and we got Eddie Vedder's political point of view, and I'm like, I'm guilty of that too. Is it a healing issue? Yeah, it's a healing issue, and it's something that we have to heal for. But when we go to the movies, or when we go to a concert, or when we go see a comedy show, something that's like that entertainment part, it's really important that we connect in with that thought process of it being an entertainment. Laughter is healing. So now I do not watch anything stressed out, stressful. I guess the most stressful I watch is like the Wells Fargo show on Grit in the afternoon, or Perry Mason. I mean, and I watch Perry Mason because I like the clothes and I like the storylines. They're always interesting. And he always wins, except for that one case. But then it gets appealed and he wins on the appeal. So that's your spoiler alert. But when you look at things, and it's kind of like about your perspective, you can choose to have health and wellness, or you can choose to have chronic illnesses. Either way, whether it's body, mind, or spirit, it doesn't make a difference. Put yourself into an alignment. Put yourself into, or get help in getting in an alignment, that you don't have to experience the negative. So you think about COVID-19, as well as you think about influenza A, influenza B, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity. How about gluten-free stuff? If you're 45 and you just now get diagnosed with a gluten issue, I bet you it's pretty strongly associated with something within your mental, emotional, or spiritual realm that has infested into the physical and that you're experiencing some kind of illness. So I don't know what the hell that was all about. But anyway, I guess I better take a break. I need to go get something to drink. I had been like painting and made brownies and gummy bears and all sorts of cool things this weekend. And it's time for some water. And that's in the other room. So hopefully I'll be back later on. If I can't sleep, I know I will be. Can't promise that I'll have like the picture perfect face on, but I think there's a little filter somewhere. Maybe I'll try the filter. I'm over here thinking, what about the little bunny ears and stuff? I don't know, I can't do those. I've tried and I just felt weird doing that. Yeah. I wish I was a little bit more productive, because it would be great, like if I got this stuff right outside the doorway here, all put away. It's like this huge mountain, and you have to jump a fence to get into this room. Maybe I could break down and take care of that. So peace, love, and harmony. I hope to see you guys very soon. 2 a.m. eclipse. What part of the sky do I have to look at? And if it's cloudy, will we still see it? That's the question. Let's talk to you later.